when we're starting a conversation, with an agency or working alongside one, I think there's really three seminal points of where we can provide value, not only to them or their client. I think the first one is scale, just in terms of the offering that we may be able to present. The second one I think is really a perspective and or research, which I know we're going to touch on. And the third one is really, that trusted partner, the capabilities of being an extension of their team. Welcome, everybody, to Fast Forward the Conversation. This episode is focused specifically on a unique piece of work that we do that is, media agency to other agency perspective. Those agencies might look like creative shops, they might be PR shops, they might be a web development company, but we do quite a bit of that work. And I wanted to get into the conversation today. With me, I've got Fabio Ramos from San Diego. Fabio, good morning.
Oh, morning.
And Misty Castellanos from our office in Dallas.
Hello.
I think it's exciting to have these two people on just because they have so much background in servicing the agency to agency space, and being an extension of teams. As we think about COVID and some of the challenges it's presented, numerous challenges across the marketplace, but what we are also seeing is it's reinventing the agency landscape. Agencies are rethinking not only staffing, but, what they're really going to own in other parts of their business that they may parcel out or may need to bring a partner in. And again, we play in that space quite frequently. When we're starting a conversation, with an agency or working alongside one, I think there's really three seminal points of where we can provide value, not only to them or their client. I think the first one is scale, just in terms of the offering that we may be able to present. The second one I think is really a perspective and or research, which I know we're going to touch on. And the third one is really, that trusted partner, the capabilities of being an extension of their team. Fabio, from your perspective, right? Let's talk scale. What does that look like, right? Given some of the agency partnerships that we service, how does scale play out in our relationship and also in that agency's relationship with their end client?
Yeah, so I think it all starts with our capabilities. Right, that's what we're able to do and how much we're able to do. And the wide range of capabilities that we have, from traditional to broadcast to digital analytics, allows us to be a true media powerhouse. And by being a true media powerhouse, that also gives us the opportunity to extend our offerings beyond our direct clients. We can extend those offerings to other agencies that may benefit a lot from that partnership. And you touched the point. I think the main value that this brings is scale. And with scale, there's a subset of additional values that comes along with that. And it's anywhere from the pricing insight that we can provide on the media landscape, from the market research tools that we also use in our planning and strategy, and the fact that there's no incremental labor, right? An agency can use us as their media arm without having to hire a full staff or sign multiple contracts with vendors to be able to fulfill the media buys for their clients. And by integrating with us, they have the opportunity to basically capture an additional revenue that they weren't able to do it before, unless they invested in the large amount of money that's needed to have it in-house. So the fact that we are able to provide that basically with a flip of the switch, with an integration with them, I think provides tremendous value for agencies, as you mentioned, Zach, of other core competencies, right? PR shops, production, design firms that have other folks, and this allows them to focus on their core competency, right, while leaving the media piece for us to fulfill for their clients.
There's two important things I think you touch on there, Fabio, in terms of the similarities, right, or things that our agency partners might have in common. A lot of them have brand clients, right? Mid to large size brand clients, right? That they're servicing, or that they've been able to win. And I think capturing a little more of that business almost from an AOR perspective, right? It's very important to them. I also thought about, your point of capabilities, and we were on the phone, it must have been a couple of weeks ago, with an agency in LA, and part of the pain they were addressing with us is they were making 3 phone calls, one to a programmatic partner, one to have broadcast perspective, and another on search. And to us, it seems a bit foreign. Why wouldn't you make one call? Why wouldn't you have one partner? Why wouldn't you have all of that expertise sitting in one shop? You're slow by making all of those phone calls and just inherently dealing with all of those teams. Misty, the second part I know that we really lean into, and I feel like we're doing more work here than ever, is on the perspective and the research side, right? A lot more projects, it feels like, are coming into our media agency looking for insight, looking for market opportunity, looking for an audience shift with COVID. How does that play out? Where do we play in that space? Again, if you think about our agency partnerships, where's the value our research brings to the table, again, that might get them to market faster or insight faster?
Yeah, so one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is the amount that we invest in our research tools. And, prior to COVID, we would have agency partners, agencies down the road, reach out to us for some research help because of the research tools that we have in-house that are our fingertips, basically. And things like, helping build audience profiles, looking at the competitive landscape. We recently had an interactive agency partner reach out to us about a research opportunity for a client of theirs that's looking to expand in the US. They're a Canadian company and they're looking to expand. And, they tasked us to look at a couple markets and help them identify, of the two, which one's the better market to go into for their next distribution warehouse. And so we invest in these tools. We use them for our clients. We have a lot of agencies that reach out to us. And like I said, this was going on even before COVID, but now more so than ever, agencies have had to cut back, and part of it could have been in their research tools. So we definitely love to offer that at no expense to them. We invest in it, but we do get those calls of people needing help that ultimately lead to a bigger ask, and we're glad to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, I think if COVID's taught us anything, everybody's relooking at their P&L, right? And if you're a creative shop that maybe was doing some media work and you were looking potentially for some savings, again, not saying this is the case, or painting with a broad brush, but those might have been pieces that could be eliminated. And or if they haven't been eliminated, they may be going into 2021, right? As agencies are looking for a way, again, to reinvent themselves and the client work. Could you touch base on, I know you said, we spend over $1 million annually on these tools. What are some of those tools? What does that look like to provide a little perspective, right, into the mechanics of the work that we're doing?
Sure. So Kantar strategy is a tool that we use to look into the competitive landscape from a directional sense on where these brands are spending across traditional and digital media. Pathmatics is another one as well that we utilize on a daily basis. You're able to get an idea of spend, but you're also able to look at the creative messaging and see how that changes throughout the year. And so, like you mentioned, even working with creative agency partners and helping them to identify, at this time of the year, this brand is more focused on this, whereas, this time of the year, their message is geared towards this. And so, being able to even bring that to the conversation has been very helpful on campaigns that we're planning right now, given this challenging year and what people are talking about in their messaging has really, been important in making sure that you are using the right voice in the message that you're trying to get across. That's from a competitive lens. We do have a bunch of tools that we use to look into the audience behaviors. MRI Simmons OneView, for example, is one that we use to look into, help identify and paint a better picture of, an audience. So let's say your client has always gone after women 25-54. Well, you can go even beyond that in this tool. You can look into their opinions and attitudes about things from advertising to even just daily beliefs and just their own opinions. You can look into the psychographics of things that they stand for, and as well as, the media consumption. We usually use that tool to help, like I said, paint a better picture to create almost this day in the life of this audience that you're trying to go after. So that way you can put together, when you're thinking through the strategy of how you're going to get your message in front of them to where it's natural and not forced. You want to reach them on their own terms. At certain times of the day, someone might be more prone to, be looking at news content on their phone. And so you'll want to make sure that you're there versus, later during the day when they're watching news on TV, things like that. So we love to be able to offer these tools up. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we're using it to help a client go into their next market. But even, for agency partners, we've put together, audience profiles for pitches of their own. And so to be able to help them in that conversation, just from that research standpoint, has been helpful, and it's really helped, expand our partnerships that we have to multiple agencies, whether it's down the road or, across the country.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. One of the things I touched on in the intro was the idea of this trusted partnership, right? And expanded capabilities for an agency. Really a toss-up between the two of you. Fabio, I'll look to you first, right? One of the things I always love to get into in these fast forward the conversations is getting the viewer or listener some perspective into how we think, right? How does this really work in the real world? Could you give us some insight, right? Think about a partnership or two that we have. What is the work that we do? How does it differ maybe between, two agencies, from both of your perspectives? Because we service clients all across the country. Fabio, I know you've got a different perspective in Southern California, right? And some work that we might do there versus Misty, some relationship we might have in our Dallas market. Fabio, help us understand, what does that look like, right? What is some work that we're maybe doing today, or even the longevity of our partnerships, I think is another perspective to lean into, but help us understand what that looks like.
Sure. So I'll give you some examples of engagements that we've done, but I think I want to just put that in a nutshell real quick of how that takes place. So we have basically three pillars, right? Which is traditional, digital, and analytics. And then we have two solutions, and also two engagement options, which is, we can do anything from A to Z, from strategy planning to the execution reporting, or simply, as Misty touched on, the consulting piece of marketing tail research, that aspect as well. And over the course of last several years, we've engaged in all these different manners with different agencies. Give you a few examples. We partner with a creative shop here in Southern California. They were looking for help with a nationwide nonprofit, and just talk a little bit about the actual work. They wanted to focus on their core competency, which was creative branding, and they had a big media need for a specific campaign to drive end of year donations for this nonprofit across the U.S. And so we put together a plan, a strategy, a plan, and we ran a campaign that was basically a 60-day flight, no longer than that. And the goal was to hit the mark of donations they had the previous year, which the target was $10 million. And so we executed media across multiple channels, and not only we hit the goal by deadline, but we surpassed by 8% that goal as well. And then the ROI on that campaign was 240%. So it was win-win, across the board. Agency was happy, client was happy. It was a good instance there. Another example is a creative agency out in DC. They called us to co-pitch a global education client on the media piece. So we went in there, pitched it, won the business. That was probably 3 years ago. We're still working with the client, running media globally. And we won the business. And as a consequence of that, obviously, there was a lot of creative work that was needed across the last few years in the creative shop benefit of that. So we've been working together with this client, and we still do to this day, and it was another case of success, right? A third instance that I'm going to give, and it's a little bit different, is another agency here. Actually, this one is down the road here from our office in San Diego. And the main need from them was the analytics piece. So we came with the analytics solution, data visualization. That's what they were in need of. And basically, we picked campaigns they were running in-house. They also needed some media, basically programmatic display, which we have a roster of DSPs here. And we integrated all these pieces from the media they were running, the media we were running, in a concise strategy, and was able to put that in a live dashboard that was much, much easier for them to tell a story to their client and for the clients to have access to the media story as well. So we won through the media piece through the analytics piece, and the media came as a second piece on that. So it's the third case and different level of engagement that we had there.
So three very different cases,
Yes.
very different kinds of end user clients, three different ways of utilizing our capabilities. Again, I think the first one I heard you say 60 days in terms of that engagement. The second one's been a little over 3 years, and then a different perspective again on the third one. Misty, give us your view, right? I know we've had some clients on the agency side that have been with us, quite some time, where we really sit at the table with them. What does that look like?
Sure. Yeah. An agency partner of ours in Oklahoma that we've partnered with for well over 10 years. They're a B2B agency, and they had a couple clients that were looking to get into some traditional media. So, some TV, some radio, and they just didn't have that in-house. And so over 10 years ago, they reached out to us, and we're still in partnership with them today on these exact clients. And we've just kind of evolved with them as a true extension of their team, to where they've even got our team members on their website as their media personnel, if you will. And so that's been a really great relationship that, like I said, it started with the same two clients that we still work with them on today, but it's grown into an even bigger portfolio of other clients. So that's one of a true testament to that partnership. I mean, we're kind of growing with them. I mean, 10 years ago, things definitely looked a lot different now. And so we've really helped their clients grow, as well as pitch and win new clients with them. And then another example I want to share that's an interesting one, that just goes to show, client relationships, even after they end, they may not truly end, because a really good agency partner that we like to work with out of Florida, so a client that we had in the past, our contact there decided to go agency side and joined an agency in Florida, and we were both responding to an RFP. We didn't know it at the time that we were both responding to it. And something went out that I don't know that it was supposed to go out, but it showed everyone that was responding to this RFP. And of course, everyone's kind of looking through the list to see who's on it, and they recognize our name and immediately call us and say, hey, I'm agency side now. You guys are media. They're a creative shop. They were looking to find that edge in, and boom, we partnered together and have been, pitching new business together. They've even opened an office here in Dallas, and we've managed to bring them on board with one of our Dallas clients. So it just goes to show, whether it's someone picking up the phone, calling us, needing some help placing some national media, they may not have the buying clout that we have, or something that begins with an audit from research tools, like I mentioned earlier, that turns into something bigger. It happens any way you can think of it. And like you guys were talking about earlier, more so now than ever, with people having to take cuts, and maybe they had to let go of their media department or, creative department, what be it. So we truly value the partnerships that we have. And going forward, I mean, we're always happy to partner, whether it's someone, I mentioned down the road earlier, we definitely work with a lot of people here in Texas, but all across the country, as I mentioned, someone out in Florida saw our name and immediately picked up the phone to give us a call.
Yeah, it's interesting. The last thing I would touch on is, the importance of media, I think, for the creative shops. We've got a relationship with an agency on the East Coast that we've been working with. And it started with an audit, right? It started with a CPG brand and saying, hey, look, we need some help on the business intelligence analyst side of the fence. Can you help us get a little deeper perspective into what we're doing? Is it working? Provided the work, scoped it out. I think raised some eyebrows, right, into not only the work that was delivered in terms of the audit, but we also pointed out some opportunities. Those opportunities on the creative shop led for the brand to say, well, do you have a media perspective you would like to offer? Would you want to take a look at this? Yes. We've since partnered with them, helped take on some of that work, provided, I think, some momentum to the creative, which is fantastic. I mean, the stuff that was shot, the work that's being done, but it's helped escalate, I think, the creative story that's been told, so much so that now if you came all the way back full circle, almost a couple of years later, we're reviewing budget increases for 2021 based on the work working and driving more sales, right? And through a great partnership that started out, again, I think Fabio touched on it great. A lot of these opportunities might seem even obscure at the beginning, or an ask, or some research, or an audit that turn into an insight, an opportunity, and then a whole new perspective. If there is anything else I could close with in thinking about, the landscape is changing, right? It has changed, and it's changing fast. Clients are rethinking their partnerships, and the work may not look like 1 year and 2 year long agency of record commitments, but there very well may be an opportunity, a crack in the door, a crack in the dam to say, we need your help and here's a project. I think there will be numerous opportunities like that now in the fourth quarter and going forward into 2021, that again, if you're on the agency side and you're looking for that piece, which I think Misty mentioned well, to get you over the top, right? To take your work to the next level. I think it's a really, really great consideration. Awesome. Well, look, thanks for your time today. I try to keep these somewhat brief. I know you guys have got a lot to share. Thank you for your perspectives. Thank you for the stories in terms of the work that we've done. And thank you guys for, servicing these great relationships we have across the country.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Bye.